Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by CoolStuffInc.com, Mana Traders, as well as Twitch subs and Patreon supporters just like yourself. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTGNerdGirl.
Hey guys, welcome back. Long time no see.
Reuben Bressler.
That was the most, you step on the gas, it's time to go. If you're not in the car, I'm leaving. Intro to the show that I've been a part of, I think. That was awesome.
That also comes with the dad territory. If you missed our pre-show, patrons and subs to this channel get access to our NSFW version early, and we kick it off with our first pick in our giveaway. Get your chance at $50 worth of anything at CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle in the chat right now, but sub first to get 2 chances to win, and support your favorite streamer with your suggestions at the end of the show to see who we raid tonight. That is thanks to our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day. We do have a code, Magic Mics, that does work and is live if you would like to use a promo code for us. Otherwise, tell them we sent you. So this week, and as we have known at this point with brand new card types and things, is the March of the Machine previews. And March of the Machine has begun. The cards are interesting. And as we are wont to do, we have all chosen 3 cards to chatter about first. And I guess I'll go first here and get started here with... if we want to first start talking about Invasion of Tarkir. This is a hell of a Magic card. Now, this is a battle, and battles are pretty interesting. This is a siege, and all of the battles in the set are siege battles. So battle-siege is the card type. They all have a defense number, which is that number in the bottom right. Works a lot like loyalty. You have to, if you defeat, let's back us up. When you, as a siege enters, you choose an opponent to protect it. You and others can attack it. And when it's defeated, you exile it and then cast it transform. So real fast, what does that mean? That means you have to defeat it with either direct damage or combat damage. You can't vindicate a battle that does not flip it. You can't exile a battle that does not flip it. So you have to defeat the thing. And so Invasion of Tarkir is a mythic battle, and they have pushed this thing all to hell. So let's take a look at it. For red and generic mana, it is a mythic battle that says when Invasion of Tarkir enters the battlefield, reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. When you do, Invasion of Tarkir deals X plus 2 damage to any other target, where X is the number of cards revealed this way, and X can be 0. And let's say, after you dealt your 2 damage, you smashed in for 5, and you flipped it over, and that gave you the Defiant Thundermaw, as we see on screen right now. This is a flying, trampling 4/4, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to any target. This is bananas, and Bone Crusher Giant says hello with a 2 mana, 2 damage spell that does a ton more later. Flipping this thing into a Thundermaw is freaky and crazy, and every dragon they print from here on out in preview season gets more and more scary. As this card exists.
Yeah. Bone Crusher, this is not. Thundermaw, this is not. However, very good this is.
Very good.
2 damage, 2 mana with a huge additional upside is great. The fact that this comes down super early and you can flip it as early as turn 3 seems insane. I would be surprised if this were not a tournament playable all-star. And I think that it's they've told us that because if you look at the front of the card, not really knowing exactly how battles work, but we do have some battles that are uncommons, some that are common or rares, and some that are mythics. If you had shown me this front side in the dark, I would have guessed that it would have been a rare. But it is a mythic, I believe. It is. Which I think is them signaling to us that this card is very, very, very good.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it hits the battlefield, right? As a battle. And then you have, as long as you want to do the thing, which is 5 damage.
Right.
Okay, and then it flips.
Correct.
So are there going to be ways to interact with these things like enchantments once they're on the battlefield? That is going to be the biggest thing on how easily these are interactable, I think.
Right. Is a battle a permanent?
Yes.
Okay. So we can Oblivion Ring it. We can Vindicate it. We don't get the credit for it.
Right, you don't get to flip it, but it does get rid of it. Now, I think one of the keys to why this battle is so powerful and sick is because an invasion of Tarkir can target another invasion of Tarkir. And if you unveil those dragons and you destroy that, what I'm saying, it compounds really quickly. This thing gets out of control, and I think it's fantastic.
Can you have more of one of the same battle occurring at the same time?
I think so.
Can you have more than one battle occurring at the same time? Has this been clarified? How do rules work?
Are there legendary battles?
There's no legendary battles.
Oh, there should be. Come on.
There will be one day,
That's a type
I'm sure.
line, if I've ever heard one.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary
you can only
battle.
have one of them.
Yeah. Oh, you know that's probably
The
coming.
Legend of the Five Armies from the Lord of the Rings set, or the Battle of the Five Armies from Lord of the Rings set, better be a legendary battle. If it's not, I'm coming to your house.
Well, note that they're all sieges, right? And they say that battles might work different ways depending on what their subtype is. So maybe battle dash something else does something completely different because they left that kind of open, as this is a permanent that you can attack and it does weird different stuff. So who knows what the future ones look like.
They future-proofed themselves.
Oh yeah, they gave themselves lots of room, which is good. Next up here for me is, let's go ahead and talk about Kogla and Yidaro. These are the famous ape and the famous turtle showing up together to kick some butt. It is 2 green, 2 red, 2 generic mana for a 7/7 legendary ape dinosaur turtle. And when it enters the battlefield, you choose one. It gains trample and haste until end of turn, or it fights target creature you don't control, but we're not done because it's 2023. For a red and a green and 2 generic mana, you can discard it to destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, shuffle it back into your library, and then draw a card.
Wow.
Does 3 unique, awesome things.
That's wild. 6 mana for a 7/7.
Right.
It does all of that. So it's 6 mana, 7/7 haste trample.
Haste trample. Kills your best thing. Or their best thing.
6 mana, 7/7, fight your best thing. 4 mana, uncounterable, instant speed, naturalized draw a card, and shuffle it back into your deck. Or shuffle back into
uncounterable, I think, is the biggest part of that.
That thing's crazy. That thing is real good.
It is very good. I also just have to say, I love the character crossover on all of these cards. Not just like the abilities having a meld of all the different characters, in addition to like the art just being super dope. I love it.
Yeah, I love the team ups. They're so
100% agree. They're super dope.
Yeah. Very, very cool. And that one is just a damn good Magic card. I just don't know what to say sometimes. And lastly, I want to talk about Hoarding Broodlord. This is a 3 black, 5 generic mana. That is 8 mana, but we're not done. It's 8 mana, but you're not going to pay 8 mana. It's a rare 7/6 flying dragon with Convoke, because black cards have Convoke now. Because everyone you see thematically is coming together to help not lose the Phyrexians. So it's an 8 mana, 7/6 flyer with Convoke, and when it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it, and spells you cast from exile have Convoke. Damn, I think that's what we call the whole package. Is that the whole package? Giant scary threat finds best thing you want in your deck to later play whenever you want, and it gets cheaper with Convoke?
Yeah. Now, you can, even if the thing dies, you can still cast the card.
Correct. But you won't, it doesn't have Convoke because the creature won't be out there to give it Convoke.
Right. But sure.
But you can still cast.
You can go get a dragon. You can go get a dragon with your dragon. You could just chain these together, theoretically.
Yes.
In much the same way you could do it with like Runescar Demon, for example. This is actually exactly the same as Runescar Demon, now that I'm thinking about it. Similar. Except that it's easier to cast and it's not affected by a discard. Yeah, this card's very powerful. Really good.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that we're getting Convoke in black. This was one of the cards I was looking to put my name on the list. But of course, Evan typically doesn't tell us to get cards until Evan's already picked his cards.
Oh, no.
No, I think this card's really sweet. I'm excited to see what synergies there are. And, Rakdos dragons have always been a thing. Especially in recent standards, it's been pretty hefty. So this is just another piece of that, and it should be pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah, this goes along really well with your Invasion of Tarkir. Just in your Rakdos Dragons mid-range deck. I love playing Kolagons. Like, I hope that that's a playable deck.
Honestly, I'm hoping for Court of Calling to be reprinted. It's one of the very important pieces for Explorer / Pioneer that is not in the format, and they haven't printed it. And now that Convoke is showing up as a main mechanic, and we have Stoke the Flames back, which we're not talking about, but Stoke the Flames, y'all, that's big. That's big game. People who didn't play with it back in 2015, Magic 2015, that's a big game, y'all. So, NerdGirl, let's talk about your cards. Who's up first?
Well, someone had to do it, so we're going to go ahead and just start off with the biggest, most popular, heavy-hitting card that everybody's talking about and is all over the place, and that is the Archangel Elspeth.
Ooh.
2 colorless white for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. You can plus it, create a 1/1 white soldier token with lifelink, and then -2. You can put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. It becomes an angel with flying in addition. Those are 2 very good keywords that you're adding on to an additionally boosted creature.
Mm-hmm.
And then -6, which doesn't take that long to get to when you come in with 4. Return all non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So white weenies to the max. Makes them all bigger, makes them all scarier, makes them wider.
Like
We
Super Sun
already saw
Titans.
Convoke in this format, so yay for little weenie dudes. So this is great. I think this card is amazing. I think the art is spectacular, and they did a really good job showing this in the video as well.
Yeah, the animatic for the showdown between Elish Norn and Elspeth. If you haven't seen it yet, the cinematic thing is very cool. And Hypes is a great hype trailer. This card's very good. It protects itself. It is able to make an army pretty quickly and efficiently. And that ultimate is no joke and is very quick to get to.
Yeah, this is, and I think we touched on a little bit, where it's kind of like an old school design, where like it makes a dude cool. It pseudo protects itself per se. / it gets this one gets a little aggressive, like Elspeth did for her second ability original.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then that Sun Titan, the Super Sun Titan ability, which is awesome. And the fact that it gives flying and doesn't put a flying counter is kind of interesting.
That is interesting. I would have expected a flying counter.
Right, because now, correct me if I'm wrong, please, judges. If a creature dies having been targeted with that effect in the real world, in paper, it will still have flying if you reanimate it. Like, is that not true? Am I wrong? Okay.
I don't think
I'm
okay,
assuming
no.
that
No.
counter is implied
I
in that.
don't.
Well, first of all, it's
don't
still not a counter, but I was wrong. So thank you, pharmacist judge and somewhere
Yeah,
else.
that
Yay.
sounds.
I'm so happy.
It doesn't
Trust me.
But it doesn't gain that persistently. Or wait, what's
No,
that?
I don't think they would do that in paper because that would be a pain in the butt to keep track
That would
of.
Freaks
be
me out,
a lot.
man. Jesus, you were scaring me there.
NerdGirl, what you got next?
All right, so I've got next to the last one, home run, constructed, limited, sure. But I wanted to talk about this card. Honestly, mostly the main reason I picked it is because the art is freaking amazing, but also it's very, very good for limited. We have the Halo Forager. We have a colorless blue and a black for a 3/1 flying fairy rogue. I love me some fairy rogues. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value X from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. Exile it instead of putting it back into the graveyard. So that's a pretty sweet ability. It allows you to kind of flash back any of your other cards by itself, a 3/1 flyer for 3 mana. Very solid. Body that can kind of close out games in like these like Dimir control decks in Constructed. I could definitely see this being playable in Constructed, but also just being very, very sweet and limited.
Absolutely. This is a Snapcaster Mage. This is a what's his name? The red one that took things from your opponent's graveyard. But yeah, this is a home run, right? Like this is.
Yeah, this card seems insane.
I mean, it's sorcery speed, so it's not Snapcaster Mage.
But
It's
you can
3
blink
mana,
it, right?
so it's not Snapcaster Mage. But yeah, you can blink it, and you can pay 4 mana and bolt something. Pay 5 mana and get your Invasion of Tarkir back, right? Or
Right.
maybe that's not how that works.
Well, it's not a
No,
sorcery.
it's not a sorcery.
Or an
You
instant.
can get back your burn spells. You can get back your bounce spells. You can get back your
blink spells. Yeah.
for 4 or 5 mana. Like, there are a ton of 1 and 2 costs. And then, oh, by the way, you've got a 3 power flyer for your 3 mana as well.
Yeah, this thing is just efficiency defined. I mean, it's not on Lorwyn. I wish it were. This looks to be on Streets of New Capenna. But regardless, like, you know, because it's Halo too. But again,
we're crossing the streams, right? Like, we're getting a lot of bleed between the planes here. So it's entirely possible that this is a fairy from either Eldraine or Lorwyn.
Well, first of all,
leading into New Capenna.
That's fair. Now, first of all, it was Direfleet Daredevil. Thank you, Pharmacist Judge, and 3-point dice. So that was correct. Note, this says a graveyard. This doesn't say your graveyard. This says a graveyard from any graveyard you want. That's a nice removal / burn / tutor you got over there. Like, this card is amazing. Oh my God.
I missed that.
It got even better.
That's pretty good. So hitting some flashback spells with that too, or just, you know.
So it's also graveyard hate. Wow.
Oh.
Powerful. All right. What else you got?
All right. So what do we love? We love some Siege Rhino mana costs. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about Thalia and the Gitrog monster, colorless white, black, green, for a legendary human frog horror. There's a lot of interesting creature types there. We have a first strike Death Touch, 4/4, that says you may play an additional land each turn. Creatures and non-basics lands your opponent's control enter tapped. Yikes. And when the monster attacks, sacrifice a creature or a land, then draw a card. I would still very much like to do those things. This card kind of does it all. Each color is represented in the abilities. 4/4 first strike Death Toucher is going to be very tough to deal with. I love me, some Siege Rhino mid-range.
Yeah. Most important line or most important word on the card, human, probably. Which will be, this is a great 4-drop for the humans deck. Mm-hmm. It has 4 toughness, so it doesn't die to lightning bolt. It makes your opponent's stuff come into play tapped. It gives you an additional card advantage avenue as you move forward. It's only 4 mana, which is not that much for this much value. I could definitely see this thing seeing modern play, and certainly is going to be a powerhouse in standard. It does too much to not.
It doesn't get bounced by Thing in the Ice. Oh my God. Because it's a horror.
That's awesome too. What's the frog relevance? Do we have any frog relevant things?
I got nothing that's relevant for frogs, but the horror thing is real.
The horror thing is
and the
very
human thing
funny.
Is real. So
yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Reuben, what you got?
Hey everybody, it's time to talk about a cycle of Magic cards that has taken us 20 years to complete. It was debuted on Mirrodin, as a matter of fact, and here we are at the end of all things, talking about the ending of the Sword cycle, the Sword of Once and Future. Sword of Once and Future is a 3 generic mana artifact that is an equipment. It is a mythic, and it equips for 2. You know how swords work, I would imagine. I believe it's also a story spotlight card. I don't know what the story is yet, though. If somebody has a link to the story, please let me know. I'm interested, because I'm looking at the art, and the background does not look like Mirrodin. The hand is nondescript. I don't know exactly what I'm looking at here. Mm-hmm. It's vaguely Eldraine-y, maybe, with the castle and the briars. Could be vampire-y. I don't know what I'm looking at. But anyway, the card itself finishes out the cycle of protection from 2 colors, swords. So we have equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from blue and from black. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, surveil 2. Then you may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So we get a little bit of a mission briefing on every time we hit our opponents. We get to put some stuff into our graveyard, a little bit of card selection, and oh, by the way, we're protected from Unsummon and from Doomblade.
This card's bad. I'm sorry, this card's bad. I wish they didn't make bad swords. I think there's some point, maybe after Sword of War and Peace, where Wizards was like, you know what? Swords are too good. They can't do two good things. And every sword made thereafter, the Sinew one, the red-black one, the Hearth and Home one, the new red-green one, which sees absolutely no play whatsoever. I was hoping that, I could... It's cool. It's good enough. It's got the protection in there. It's got some card advantage in there. It doesn't matter. And mission briefing. This is the sort of mission briefing.
Yeah.
I know you can play the card for free, but I think this card's just bad.
I do have a hot take. I think that all of the swords are kind of bad as it compares to modern Magic. I don't know that any of the swords would see play in Standard right now. Just because it's a lot of investment. I mean, maybe the very top end ones.
Maybe Light and Shadow. Maybe.
I mean, Feast and Famine.
Feast and Famine would, because it's cards. That's the busted one. That's
Feast
the
and
one.
Famine would untap your lands.
Yeah.
But Fire and Ice, maybe not. Fire and Ice was the gold standard for a long time.
I mean, if equipment decks are not the thing in Standard, of course swords are not going to be super good. I don't think that's why swords are made. I think that swords are made because they are good centerpieces for storyline. I think they're good bombs for limited. I mean, I hate them, don't get me wrong. I don't want game-ending protection bombs in my limited formats, but it's a thing that people like to open and use. And they're also pretty cool for Commander. There are people who just love them. So I don't think Wizards needs to or is trying to make these things busted and breaking open Standard formats.
Well, I do know, because we've been doing this a long time. So I know there was a point when Wizards said that the swords were too good on rate.
Yeah.
They were just too good on rate in terms of what you paid for, what you got, and the protection and the abilities and so on and so forth. And at some point, we crossed a threshold where they're not. They're not on rate better than the creatures that you are making and the spells that you're making. And so when the abilities kept getting worse and the sword stats stayed the same, eventually got to the point where these last swords just don't mean much. It's great that you did it. I'm glad you completed the cycle, but it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, they could have made Surveil 3 and it would not have...
I don't think it would have broken anything.
I don't think it would have broken anything.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised at how small the effect was.
Right.
It did feel like the effect was pretty small.
Right. And I get it. I understand they got to be careful and you don't want to go too far, but I just think they were just too careful. I think they were too scared, is what it felt like. So anyway, Reuben, what else you got?
So my picks are all 3 drops that could go in a mono green deck. The next one is going to be Wrenn and Realmbreaker.
Ooh.
Wrenn and Realmbreaker is a team up card, but it's a planeswalker, so it's kind of a sneaky one because Wrenn teams up with trees, and Realmbreaker, the invasion tree, is coming to ruin formats. This is another Story Spotlight card. Wrenn and Realmbreaker is a generic a green for a 4 loyalty card. So we're starting out with a 3-mana planeswalker that enters with 4 loyalty and has a passive ability that says that lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So we get a Chromatic Lantern effect on a planeswalker, basically. It has 3 abilities. +1, up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until your next turn. It's still a land. -2, mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards in your hand. And -7, the ultimate, you get an emblem with you may play lands and cast permanent spells from your graveyard. This card's very good. It is extremely good at card advantage in decks that perhaps are going to be short on that, maybe not playing blue. And it's going to be very hard to kill because after your turn 3, it's going to be able to protect itself. On turn 4, it's going to be able to make that Vigilance Hexproof Haste land to be able to not only deal 3 damage, keeping opposing planeswalkers in check and attacking battles and things like that, but also protecting you on the back end. So I think this card's very good.
I'm wondering, there are so many planeswalkers, and we just had a set that has a substantial amount of proliferate. If there's any more proliferate in this one, is there going to be some sort of crazy Super Friends ultimate planeswalker deck that's just going to be ultimating planeswalkers? Because this ultimate's insane. It's absolutely busted. Now, it doesn't protect itself super well in the beginning, so, like, we'll see. But, like, with Proliferate, I'm kind of scared. Like, that was a thing in War of the Spark, right? Like, being able to manipulate the counters on your Planeswalker is certainly a game plan.
I mean, for me, like, and I'm hoping that this is a Sheoldred experience, because when Sheoldred came out in DMU, I was like, I don't think it's that great, and ended up being absolutely busted. It won a vintage event the other day, for God's sake. But, you know, for me, I'm just like, it's Chromatic Lantern the Planeswalker, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's cool. Chromatic Lantern is a well-beloved card, and casuals all day will love it. But the fact that it doesn't untap the land, which I agree would probably be busted if it did, and the fact that it doesn't let you choose any card in your graveyard only from those that you mill from your -2, which, again, I understand it would be too good if it didn't. Just kind of, for me, just kind of hold this thing back. And I think it's like, to me, the question is this like really expensive because of constructed possibilities that I personally don't see? Or is this because it's going to be a fantastic casual card? This is going to be a Commander All-Star for years and years and years. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Reuben, what's your last card?
My last card is, it features just a character that I don't fully, I don't know. I kind of love the lore of this character. This is a massive beast that, you know, has never spoken. It is a reptilian, right? It doesn't really have sentience per se. But it has been a powerful force in many storylines, and is itself a harbinger of destruction. And whenever it appears, it sort of portents the end times. And so oftentimes in Magic the Gathering, we're telling those stories. And when last we saw Polukranos, who was originally the World Eater, it was in the Underworld. But it had escaped the Underworld, and it was unchained. And as the Underworld is a weird and nebulous thing in Theros, it's now just kind of around. So it was reborn, and we have Polukranos Reborn. 4/5 for a green. We've got Leatherback Baloth stats. So we've got 3 mana 4/5. Like, we're starting in an okay place. That's a lot. That's a big number of stats. On a reach creature, legendary creature Hydra. And it has the activated ability of pay 6 generic mana and a white Phyrexian mana to transform Polukranos Reborn. Activate only as a sorcery. So for 6 mana and 2 life, we can flip it over into a Wormcoil Engine, turns out. Turns out they put Wormcoil Engine in this set. I don't know if you knew that. But we've got a 6/6 reach lifelink legendary creature Phyrexian Hydra on the backside as Polukranos Engine of Ruin. And when Polukranos Engine of Ruin or another non-token Hydra you control dies, create a 3/3 green and white Phyrexian Hydra creature token with reach, and a 3/3 green and white Phyrexian Hydra token with lifelink.
Any other Hydra, and there are some substantial Hydras. This is going to be a sweet card to add to a lot of like commander decks and stuff.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of Hydras that are 0/0s for X mana. So if you just want to trigger this, you can just play your Feral Hydra for 0/0, put it into your graveyard.
Get 2 3/3s.
Get 2 3/3s.
Yeah. I love this. I think it's really cool. There's a whole cycle, maybe a super cycle. I can't remember how many there are at this point, of creatures that you have Phyrexian mana and some X generic mana to flip them over into the Phyrexianized versions. They run all the way up and down the common to the rare chain, at least so far. Maybe there's a mythic in there too that does it. And I think that's super cool. The ability to show transformation is the most powerful part of flipping that card over, whether it's a werewolf or whether it's Phyrexian doing Phyrexianized things, which is cool. And I think this card is super duper dope, and I love it. If nothing else, because I love Wormcoil Engine, and I will take a throwback all day. Because now, freed from the Underworld, the World Eater resumed his endless feast with reckless enthusiasm.
Yeah, Unchained.
Woo!
You get him, buddy. Look at him go.
Yeah, we unchained our heart. They wrote a whole song about it. All right, so moving on here and to gather the townsfolk, thanks to our sponsor, Mana Traders. The best tool to enhance your Magic Online experience. Use the code MAGICMIKES for 12% off your next subscription with Mana Traders. You guys have been supporting us there. We have seen things happening. Thank you guys so much for that. Tell them we sent you. Use the promo code. All that good stuff. Wizards earlier this week noted there were some pre-release updates for both Lord of the Rings and Wilds of Eldraine, because yes, we're already talking about Wilds of Eldraine. And this specifically being that in-store events will happen before digital events will happen. And that has been, I think, very important to get people to show up at the LGS and buy their product there or play in a pre-release there. And I think that's fantastic. And I just wanted to note that that's happening.
Good. I mean, that's how it should be, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to something a little, I don't know, I guess it's not that strange. It's just kind of weird. And they're also being weird about it, but we'll get there. So they are making a secret lair about the D&D movie that comes out this weekend. And the movie looks really cool. I'm actually super excited to go see it. But here we have the secret lair Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie set where you can have Hugh Grant on your battlefield.
Uh-huh.
You can smash with Hugh. Chris Pine
Phrasing.
over here. Whoa. Chris Pine hanging out like as Edgin rather, which sounds really cool. So like the actors are here. This isn't some, generic comic booky representation of these characters in the movie. This is the likeness of the people in the movie.
It's great.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, remember the
That's the
Sorcerer's
nice thing
Apprentice?
when you own the IP, I suppose. There's not a lot that you have to worry about. I'm sure for these people to get the job, they had to sign away the rights for them to use their likeness. And because this is the same IP, we can do whatever we want with those likenesses and call it a day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not weird when someone's like Spider-Man's face is on something that Fox owns, right? Like when Fox was doing it. Like, that makes sense. That's just what this is.
And I think that's partly why there's no plans for the D&D movie Secret Lair to have a universes within printing.
Right, because they own the IP, like NerdGirl said. So.
Right. So and that's what someone else was noting, is that basically they can reprint these as they exist right here if they want to, with the likenesses and everything, because it isn't an actual outside IP. It's an inside IP thing stuff.
Yeah.
So
those actors signed up to be in that movie and promote it and to use their likenesses in that movie for D&D purposes. And, this is how they're choosing to do that. So it's interesting. This is the first Secret Lair I bought outside of a charity Secret Lair. I've only bought 3 in the past, the 2 Extra Life and the 1 Trevor Project. I bought this one because I thought it would be a very cool Commander game for Decked Out, to battle all the D&D characters, and you make like D&D themed decks. I think that's going to be super sweet.
Oh, that's so good.
So, we'll have a barbarian deck and a wizard deck or whatever, and you have to sort of theme your stuff around that way using wizard class and some cool stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
I want to do this one.
This is $40 for these 6 cards and $50 for foil. And, is it worth it? Well, I mean, y'all figure it out.
I mean, there's nowhere else to get these cards right now, and they are based on the IP. So
that's right.
I think that it's certainly unique.
I don't know about the cards. I honestly bought them without reading the cards. I don't really, because of what this is, I did not care what they did.
Right.
Right. Now, this also has the chance of becoming something that is difficult to reprint should, God forbid, anything weird go on with the actors who are featured on these cards.
All right, calm down. That's fine.
We don't need
to go down that hypothetical.
Seen this crap.
Listen, I know we have. but we don't need to go down that hypothetical.
We just live in the real world. And I'm saying.
If something goes down with the actors, they're not going to want to reprint them anyway.
Right.
Or if they do, they'll just change the art.
They'll change the art.
Just like they do every other time an artist does something that the community is not down with, and then they just change the art.
There you go. So I definitely would recommend to buy this one and throw it in a closet. Regardless of what Wizard says.
Episode about it.
Yeah, or definitely fill out a Decked Out episode. That sounds great. But if you're not making content from it, where you can mark this off on your taxes, for example, this is I believe these are cards that are difficult to reprint, despite them saying otherwise. I think, where do they go and where will they fit and what makes sense? Well, that can go on for years and years. And that would just make these things more expensive. So feel free to make your own decisions on that one. All right, so let's move on, y'all, to some desperate ravings. So Magic Arena recently, if you didn't know, had a big old bug where the Ninja's Kunai had a bug where it would sacrifice all of your permanents instead of just it, and all of your permanents would deal 3 damage, just like it did, and people were abusing that, and Wizards brought down the hammer and said, yo, the people who were abusing that are going to be having some actions taken against them depending on the severity of the abuse. And I think that's great. This it's been quite a while since we've had a bug of this nature, and particularly a bug I think you can take advantage of, and I can't remember them ever coming down this hard on anything in terms of exploits.
Good. I also really appreciated that there was a very detailed thread about what the bug was.
Oh yeah, we're getting there.
That was posted to Reddit. All right, go ahead.
Well, there was a fantastic thread that was submitted to Reddit that was from someone on the Arena team, and this was great because Bill Stark noted on Twitter, this doesn't happen. This was forbidden years ago. You could not do this. It's because you're in a boatload of trouble to go to the subreddit and explain what the hell happened, because that's exactly what they did. They went to the subreddit and they said, hey, here is the long drawn out version, the full nerd version, by the way, we're hiring, version of things that are happening and why this happened. And I thought it was brilliant. And I just want to give major kudos. I love this stuff. I love it. Be more transparent. Tell us what's going on. We're big boy nerds. We can take it, and big girl nerds. We can also take it. Look, like we having known what is going on here. Gives me a ton more respect for the dev team, because like all this stuff is hard and very complicated. B, being transparent makes me feel better about the program and its future, because they understand that this is a thing that can happen, but we're going to be real and honest about it. And lastly, I love that not only are they going to punish the people who messed with it, they're going to, make sure that if this does happen in the future, people are not going to exploit much in the future who will get burned by this one. You know what I'm saying? Like they've built in that deterrent now if they screw up in the future, which can happen through no fault necessarily of their own.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. If they explain something to the point that I can no longer decipher what's going on, they've made it the resolution on the pixels so detailed that I can't decipher anything further, which brings me hope. Like, there's no obfuscation, there's no hiding anything. They're like, hey, here's what we messed up, and here's how we fixed it. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And there's an audience for that.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really good precedent, not the bug itself and how they fix it, but with the Reddit thread and being communicated with. And also, I really love that they are, cracking down on people who are abusing it, because the people who are abusing things like this are the people who are very, very invested in Magic, and Magic is not a cheap game. So if you get your account banned, it's a real bad day. There's actual significant consequences here. Unlike a lot of other games where you get your account banned, you just make a new one, no big deal. This is substantially different.
Yeah, like imagine if you get if you get a 3-month ban right now, that's through Lord of the Rings. That's through the entire release of Lord of the Rings that you don't get to play on Magic Arena with your account, or you'll have to go back and get a different one or whatever, which sucks. So into some splash damage, I want to pour one out here for E3. E3 has been officially canceled. All of the companies that used to go there no longer go there. This to me was the pandemic showed that it was just not necessary. And these companies did not have to fight for attention at the show. They didn't have to fight to get attention on their products that they were announcing or talking about. And they can just, have their own thing. Have a Nintendo Direct, for example, which is a thing that we know exists now because they've literally established that kind of brand of way of communicating with Nintendo customers. And PlayStation has their State of Play or something, and Xbox has their own thing. And E3 is a dinosaur, and we have now seen it go away. I don't expect it to come back. I don't expect it in 2024.
It's dead for real this time.
Yeah.
I mean, companies realized that they could make their own events. They didn't have to compete.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, cons are nice because more people will come to that. Like, if you it is a large event. So you're right that they are competing against other things there, but the idea is that more people tend to make it to the city, so you have opportunity that you wouldn't normally have. But that said, I've never understood E3 myself and events kind of like it, because I've always kind of thought to myself, well, like, why, like, can't I just go look this stuff up? Like, if I'm interested in something Nintendo's doing, like, they're just going to make an announcement and I will see that. If it's a thing I'm interested in.
Right. And, this is stuff from, like, the 80s and the 90s. I mean, even so far back as, like, did it start in the 80s or the 70s? We're talking old stuff, y'all. Old. This is, this is something that just kind of kept happening. So people just kind of expected, right? They built their marketing budgets around it. They expected things to be ready to show off then. And let me tell you, what has replaced E3 is the Game Awards. If you have seen the Game Awards, it's just E3, right, but like cooler. And it's basically a long list of advertisements, a few little awards thrown in, and then tons of trailers and world premieres and first time seeing gameplay of so-and-so. Like, and that's cool. And, congrats to Jeff Keighley for making that happen. Like, he crushed it on that one. But pour one out for old E3 because it's over. All right, let's turn here to the finisher. The Dungeons & Dragons movie is here. With an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and 92% from the fans, it is looking like we have a crit success on our hands. This gives me hope for a future where we get a hit movie. So tell me, how would you pitch Magic the Gathering the movie, Reuben?
Well, Dave Chappelle, Seth Rogen, and Cheech and Chong star in the buddy comedy we've all been rooting for. Coming in 2023, Mono Green Aggro, the beefiest and most linear film of the year.
Nerd Girl?
All right, well, this town isn't big enough for the both of us. Coming this summer, 2 angels enter, 1 angel leaves. Brazella, the movie melding its way to a theater near you.
That's scary. It's a little freaky. Eldrazi Titans, Nicol Bolas, New Phyrexia, none of Magic's villains could have prepared us for the next great Magic villain. The first film of the MCU, the Magic Cinematic Universe, will be product fatigue. But don't worry if you don't see it, because not every Magic product is for you. And not every Magic movie would be either. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Nerd Girl. Thank you, Reuben.
Hey, I gotta go watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Good luck getting that bucket.
I'm gonna get that bucket.
Get that D20 bucket. Go get that D20 bucket, y'all. That's a great promotion. I wish they'd said something earlier, quite frankly. That said, we appreciate it. We're going to move over to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, Mana Traders, my co-host, MTGNerdGirl, and Reuben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.